Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Between the Lines, the book club for passionate people. This book club is designed for leaders, whether you're looking to develop personally, professionally, no matter what area of your life. We just want to get together every month, read good books, talk about them with our friends, or not read books and talk about them with our friends, depending on what you want to do. I'm here with my co-host, Katie Clancy. How are you today, Katie?
I'm awesome, Melissa. Awesome. I am enjoying locals summer. So here on Cape Cod, we call September our locals summer because our summer is, a time of invasion. It's very nice. It's very fun. It's very festive, but it's pretty intense. And then
Yeah.
when we finally get to have, we still have the nice weather, everything's still open, but everything you can actually make a left turn on the road. Life is good. It's pretty nice, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you did not get any impacts from the hurricane, did you?
A lawn chair did blow over.
Oh,
We picked it up and it did also get wet.
that's good. Well, it was very rough here in North Carolina. We're obviously thinking about all those folks out at the coast,
Yeah.
all those that were impacted by it. If you can help, please do. There's a lot of people that need it. But today we are going to talk about Can't Hurt Me, which was Katie's suggestion of this book. Actually, before we launch into that, Katie, we had goals and homework from last year.
Yeah. Whose idea was that? I am not.
I know. I kind of love it, though. There's something new that we're trying on Between the Lines, where Katie and I are trying to make a commitment of something we're going to do differently as a result of reading the book of the month.
Yeah.
And we started it last month. Katie, I have written down that your goal was to finish the book, which was The Slight Edge, and do the work in the book. How did it go? Did you do something differently?
Yeah. So I had kind of blown the book off a little bit, thinking I knew everything in it because I, have been exposed to just about everything. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna get to the second half because there's some real meat in there. There's some exercise, and I love a good exercise. And so I did it, and I'm looking over here. My phone is with my notes from what I wrote from doing this
Yeah.
work. And the part that I still didn't get all the way through. But that's all right. We're all
You
human.
got
But
further than you would have.
I did. I got way further, which was great. And that's actually one of the things that's important to us here as hosts. And when you're coming to this book club and you're trying to make things better, you just have to realize that I don't know anybody who reads every book all the way through, does all the work, and gives everything their 100% attention all the time. Life is messy. Life comes in and out, blah, blah, blah. But if you've got a consistent effort, and that's what this whole book club is about, as a consistent effort, you will get results. And that's what we're doing for ourselves. We're trying to model for you guys that kind of behavior, and not to just give up because you didn't finish the book or give up because you didn't do it right or whatever. I promise you, I got a benefit from this book, even though I literally had to shove myself through it. So that's the biggest benefit that I got from it. I definitely came across some things that I had seen before, but now saw in a new light. I really enjoyed the exercise of just blowing the doors off your what's possible and making some new kind of big, fat, hairy, fun goals. So I really enjoyed that. I got stuck on the price I'll have to pay. I didn't like facing that, but whatever, I did it. Wasn't great, but no,
That's
it was
where
good.
the real growth comes when you
Yeah,
start facing the stuff that you don't really like facing, and you're doing that kind of uncomfortable stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
So what
that's
was your homework?
my homework was I was going to be more conscious about recognizing and acknowledging and praising those around me that I saw doing the work and
Yeah,
doing the homework. Because I think for those of you guys that missed last month, one of the big takeaways in that book was we're really a results driven society, and we see those results and we're motivated by those results, but like when you're in the thick of things, when you're doing the work, that's really when you need the pat on the back. That's when you need the acknowledgement. And that's the hard stuff. And so I have been very conscious this month. I don't know that I should be the one answering this question. I guess those around me should be answering this question. But I have been very conscious about writing notes to folks and picking up the phone and calling people to acknowledge when I really see them doing the work and not necessarily getting the results, but being attached to those activities. So a cool experience. It's I think been a better experience for me than maybe the people that I'm praising, because it also feels good to praise.
It absolutely does. Yeah. And when you put good mojo out, it's all good. All good stuff.
I figure it comes back to you either way.
It sure does.
Awesome. Let's launch into Can't Hurt Me. This was a book that was Katie's suggestion. I saw David Goggins' scary face on the front, and I was very afraid of this book, but I absolutely loved it. Katie, do you want to launch into kind of a rough overview of what the book was about?
The big message in the book is that your mind is infinitely stronger than you believe it to be. You have got, if you can harness your mind, you can literally do anything. And so chapter by chapter, Goggins goes through talking about how he has done that in different ways, from when he was a child all the way through his present life. And it also underscores how, adversity is an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that physical suffering is actually a great portal to personal growth. I think that is just a true thing. And he demonstrates that over and over again.
Some of those stories, extremely impactful to listen to. The stuff that he went through as a child, from being verbally and physically abused, and really living a really hard life and overcoming those odds. I think I got through like the first 3 chapters and I was like, this guy has already overcome more than most people will. And so what's the rest of this book going to be about? It took me aback.
Actually, stop right there. I thought the same thing, because I look at my life and I look at the things that I've overcome. We've all gone through some struggle. I'm pretty proud of myself. I've gotten a lot out of living through that struggle, triumphing over adversity, whatever. And I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then I'm like, he's done that annually, some horrible thing he has lived through. And in the beginning, it was imposed on him. Mm-hmm. And then later on, he imposed it upon himself, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested on your take on the imposing it on himself, because I think, I understand the points in this book, but some of the levels of self-imposed pain, pushing himself to the limits, while I really did take from them and learn from them, I also thought to myself, and I'm saying this because I don't think I'm in the minority in saying this, what the hell is this guy thinking? At some point, you can't keep pushing yourself that way. And so it is fascinating to listen to his stories, because I think, what I learned in reading this book is so much of, and you're so right that our mind controls of it, so much of what we think are our limits are what we've told ourselves versus what our body can handle. He tells a story of him running, it's not a marathon, it's an ultra marathon. Ultra marathon, which is the 100 miles in 24 hours. And I felt like I was taking every step with him as he was telling this, where he's saying, my legs felt broken. And this was he had already done running in that his legs felt broken.
They were broken when he did that in Ranger School. I think it was. He had fractures of both legs. Yeah.
Right. And then he was going through this, and I was thinking to myself, dude, I would have been sorry, this is what I think my body is capable of. I can't come back from that. And it was so powerful to hear, look, I know both you and I are kind of gym addicts, or gym rats, if you will. I think so often we've kind of convinced ourselves, if I feel a little bit of pain, or if something doesn't feel 100% right, I'm going to hurt myself if I keep doing this. I keep doing this. And that, like, society's told us that, and we've told ourselves that. So, like, one of the things that I've been really trying to do, and it's one of his challenges, is to remove that mental governor. And he's actually got me started running again, which I have not done in a long time.
Wow. Wow.
And a lot of what I have noticed is I had kind of convinced myself, look, after years of playing softball, my knees are shot. I can't run. I'm going to hurt myself.
Yeah.
And I've gone out there consistently this month trying to read the book, and trying to remove that mental governor and say, look, if I kind of get through this initial pain, maybe I can keep running. And what I've found is that is 100% true. Like, it hurts for a period of time, and then you get in that mode and you're okay. And I personally have had like this huge kind of mental awareness in going through that process. Have you gone through, like, what if any of the challenges did you really go through and kind of left an impact on you?
So I did the one where I wrote down all like the doubts, and I forget which exercise that was. Do you remember?
I'm not sure which challenge that was, but I remember that one.
I wrote it down and I took a picture of it, and I did, like you said, I posted it on Instagram with the hashtags and all that stuff. And like, you can read, like I obscured some of it. You can read some of it, like in my deep, dark fears, like why I can't or won't do something. And that gave me the willies, but I was glad I did it.
Well, understandably, I mean, it was really interesting to read this story because I felt like his mindset is his mindset in part that he was probably born with, but definitely that was shaped by his childhood, really allowed him to excel in life, where, folks like you and me, like we were saying, we hadn't gone through those sorts of challenges prior to maybe even reading this book. And so some of that mindset stuff, like, I think some of the mindset stuff we even have to work harder on because we haven't
this goes back to like a philosophy that I hold, which is, adversity is a gift. That's, you compost that shit, like you take, like, it's an opportunity. It really is. And I'd never invite it myself, but if you have something terrible happen in your life, it is a chance to find out who you are and really leverage it. You really can. And that's what he's done, but it could also break you, which is what it does to most people.
And he makes a point, which I thought was fascinating, because it was a question I'd been asking myself as I was reading through this. I'm trying to find which challenge it was, but he makes the point where he's going through boot camp, and he's beaten down, and he kind of keeps beating himself down. And he makes this point of like, not only are they beating me down, like, I have this sick pleasure out of beating myself down. And I kept thinking to myself, at what point does that become toxic?
Well, here's the thing. And
he addresses that, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad he finally did, because there you do get, if I had one criticism, it would be at a certain point, it becomes unrelatable. He goes so far that I'm like, that's what I have to do if I want to see God. Like, I've got to, go to Ranger school and go through SEAL training 3 times. And like, giddy, I don't know if I'm going to do that. And I started to drift a little bit, and he comes in with some humility and is like, y'all, I'm crazy. You have to understand that. But that doesn't take away from the truth of what is going on here, which is the mind is stronger than the body, and the mind is stronger than the mind. Like you have this power within you. So that would be the one thing, so I actually wrote down a couple of things here about my,
and he makes the point too that, and he didn't, I don't believe, do it in the book. I'm now maybe mixing messages because I don't think he addressed it in the book. But I mentioned to Katie, I started following David Goggins on Instagram, which every post he does, he's either working out or running. Or
yeah.
So it's a little bit distracting to listen to him. But he does make the point in one of his posts on Instagram, I believe, that the way that he did certain things is not the healthiest way.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, a few years have gone by, so he's been able to look back on that. And I think that's a part where we all can, he immediately becomes more relatable, but that doesn't mean that you and I are just scratching the surface. So he might be up here, but there's a lot of space between here and there that we can go cover. So it would be easy to be like, oh yeah, you're gonna go David Goggins that. Well, if you did 1/10 of what he does, you'd still be blowing your own mind. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's what, I mean, if you guys don't read the whole story, at the very least, he has a challenge in each chapter, at the end of each chapter. I think just reading the challenges would be extremely powerful.
Yeah, and actually I did some Googling. A couple of guys have taken just the challenges and published them. So if you wanted to just go do those, you could. But I would also recommend, if you haven't read it or listened to it, so Alyssa, you're doing the podcast, you're listening to it now. He has a podcast, which I have not listened to, but there's a version, the Audible version of this book is set up like a podcast with his ghostwriter. And they have this exchange, and they sort of do an editorial talk back about each chapter as it goes by, which, by the way, I found actually to be a relief, because some of them they're so intense, and I'm like, I cannot believe, especially when he was a kid, us as moms, it's like you hear this stuff about what happened to him as a kid, and you need a break. So it was nice to hear his voice, and be like, hear that he came out the other side and he ended up okay.
There are a few nights at my house where I was like, you need to be grateful about the food that's on your plate. We're not having another conversation about it. Yeah. Really heavy book. This is how it is.
That is 100% true. But I have to say, the obvious takeaway was that the mind has this big control. But for me, I don't know what your big takeaway was, but my biggest one is that the physical is the channel to get at this stuff. We can challenge ourselves in business. We can, all sorts of things, but the physical, and that, I think it nailed it for me. Why I love the gym so much, because I'm doing it. It is not influenced by the weather, the economy. It's just whether I chose to go to the gym and chose to do what I said I was going to do, or more, or different, or whatever it is I decided to do. But it's completely up to me, and the results are immediate. You feel the pain immediately, and you either did the sprint or the run or the weight or whatever. You either did it or you didn't do it, and it's just so black and white. And that's what I love about. I think that's why I started going to the gym really regularly about 7 years ago. And if you watch what my business did in that time, there's a direct correlation. And I think it has a lot to do with testing myself, using the character, the values of perseverance, commitment, discipline, challenge, courage, risk. All that stuff happens in the body, and you have the ability to impose it upon yourself, no matter who you are and what condition you're in. I don't care. And that's a whole other, I work out at CrossFit, and people are like, oh, it's just for big book. No, I do it. My dad does it. My kids do it. We all find out where it's just about finding your edge. It's just about finding your limits, and anybody can find your limits.
So interesting is he very briefly addresses it, that genes and stuff like that do play a factor. However, one of the things that I thought was really interesting is I saw it as, and this was probably my biggest takeaway, is that physical is kind of the great equalizer, which a lot of people may challenge me on that, saying like, no, we all have different physical abilities.
That's
Certainly,
true.
absolutely we do, no question. However, I think it's the great equalizer because many of our physical abilities are supplemented or defined by how much we're willing to work at them.
Yeah.
And so I think that to me was why this was so powerful is you can really take what he's talking about in the physical and implement it in any area of your life. And what my big takeaway is, and what I'm going to do differently. So my commitment for this.
What is it?
So I have, for a long time, I've used a fitness tracking app. And I track my food and I track, my workouts and things.
What do you use, MyFitnessPal?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I recently bought like a food and fitness journal, like a paper journal. And what I've started doing in the journal before I go to the gym is not only am I tracking my food and all that, but I'm writing up my workout and like making my commitment to my workout before I'm stepping foot in the gym. So I'm doing it before I wake up that next day because it doesn't matter how tired I am, doesn't matter, how I'm feeling that day. And so I'm setting those goals, and I've found it extremely motivating where, even when and it's been great for removing my governor, is even when I'm feeling tired or things like that, I'm one of those people who cannot leave like something unchecked on my to-do list. And so if I that goal of, I'm going to do 60 minutes of cardio before my workout and I'm tired at 45, by golly, I'm still getting to 60 because I was going to, know, and that to me has been a really good lesson and definitely something I want to stick with going into this next month. What about you, Katie?
That's awesome. So the thing that resonated a lot for me, what he talked about was how he never really felt like doing anything that he did. Mm-hmm. He wasn't inspired to run, an ultra. He doesn't even think he's a particularly good runner. But he did it because he knew there was gold in them hills, that there was something to be gained from doing it. So the concept of doing what you don't want to do is the theme that I'm going to take with me. So I am committing to doing daily what I don't want to do at the gym, at home, and that means like housework. I don't like doing any housework. I don't like making my bed. I don't like doing dishes. I don't like doing laundry. I don't like any of it. Sometimes I don't even like walking my dogs, and I love my dogs, but I don't want to walk them. I don't feel like it. I'm not in the mood. But and then at work, the stuff that I don't want to do. I don't want to make this phone call. I don't want to sort my database. I don't want to look at the numbers. Bleh. Guess who spent 2 hours with the accountant this weekend with the bookkeeper? Awesome time well spent. So my commitment is to daily do something that I don't want to do at the gym, at home, and at work. One thing.
That's a really good one too. And you guys, if you didn't get a chance to read this book and you're just curious about David Goggins, go to his website.
Yep.
His website, he actually lists off all of the races he's been a part of too. So you can see some of like his physical achievements or follow him on Instagram. I think he's a really inspiring person to be around and definitely no nonsense. So next month, we are going to stick with this theme of creating these really powerful habits. And we are going to read, my light got it, Atomic Habits. And it's by James Clear. It is filled not only with great content, but activities, summaries, all sorts of things that you can use. It does seem like kind of a big book for a month. However, I think it's filled with tons of stuff that you'll be doing outside of it. There's lots of pictures in it too.
I like a book with pictures. And actually, this is one that I started to listen to, and I think I'm going to go pick up the hard copy also because I think, I think I want to see what's going on there. He makes lots of reference to the exercises and things in there. And that I think is, it's the same concept. We're taking and doing something with our books. We can do it as we're reading, and you can too. So I think I'm excited about this one. Atomic, meaning very, very tiny, teeny, teeny.
Well, I'm very excited about reading this book. I can't wait to implement more of what I heard in Can't Hurt Me this month. If you guys missed last month's episode, you can always catch us on our Facebook page, on the Compass South Facebook page, on our YouTube account, or on any of your favorite podcast streaming services. We now have a podcast, which is
whoop, whoop.
So do us a favor. If you do listen to the podcast, please drop us a review. We benefit reviews and would love to hear what you guys are thinking. If you ever have a suggestion for a book that you want to read with us, feel free to shoot us a message. We'd love to get y'all's suggestions. And I officially, now that it's September, want to wish you guys a happy Q4, which is kind of 2020 is at our doorstep. And I know that you and I have some big things ahead. So
sure do.
Absolutely. Well, without any further ado, I wish you guys well. I hope you have an awesome October. Our next episode talking about Atomic Habits will drop October 15th. So keep an eye out for that. But until then, we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.